The company missed its quarterly revenue quota for the second time in a row, and a heated conversation ensued between the head of sales, CRO, and the head of marketing, CMO, CRO. The quality of leads continues to deteriorate, and despite our best efforts, our sales reps are losing the field battle. The marketing material is archaic and uninspiring, and we haven't had any new promotional materials or compelling digital marketing campaigns in the last 12 months. Our telesales folks say the quality of leads provided is subpar. We have a mediocre presence on most popular social media platforms, and we have no brand leverage in comparison with our competitors. CMO. I believe your sales folks need training. Most of your sales reps don't have a good grasp of the product they are selling and have a hard time positioning our value propositions to their prospects. Many are not following up with their leads in a timely fashion, often dismissing quality leads without thorough qualification and without ever attempting to revisit their lost opportunities. Besides, many of them lack closing skills ability and blame marketing for their inadequacies. I suggest you focus on developing their skills to an adequate level to leverage our marketing campaigns. My team is continuously engaging potential customers in creating brand awareness and spurring desire and long-term commitment through artful and strategic storytelling. I recognize that we are lacking manpower and financial resources to become a dominant marketing household name on social media, but we're doing our best to work creatively despite our tight budget. The above conversation, loaded with ego and emotions, is common. Many salespeople do not understand the role of marketing, while marketers do not understand the complexity behind sales. Rather than working in tandem and as a force of one, they often tear and blame the other for their collective failures. Sales often looks at marketing as a support function rather than a partner that drives revenue. Smart companies know that marketing's primary role is to attract, retain, and grow revenue from existing and new customers. Marketing performs product and market research to evaluate demand and appeal, prepare and package business solutions, communicate brand value, and maintain and expand customer relationships. Despite having different functions, sales and marketing share similar responsibilities and duties concerning customer engagement and satisfaction, revenue generation, organizational growth, and brand positioning. When marketing and sales work together in complete synergy, companies achieve faster growth, better productivity, higher profit margin, greater employee job satisfaction, and higher customer retention. According to a study done by Salesforce, when the marketing group and sales group have a disconnected relationship, it affects companies' revenue negatively and triggers productivity inefficiencies, costing companies globally almost $1 trillion per year. Despite the interdependence and the similar nature of the functionality of these two groups, sales and marketing act more as rivals than partners. Missed targets and failed programs turn into blame matches with neither party taking responsibility, thus turning what could be a tremendous lucrative partnership into a perennial conflict between two groups whose best option is to work together to thrive. A study conducted by InsideSales.com, where 696 companies participated in the evaluation of their sales reps' lead response behavior, revealed that sales reps took on average 39 hours before attempting to respond for the first time to a newly submitted web lead. Furthermore, according to lead response management research conducted in 2007, a sales rep is 100 times more likely to contact a new sales lead, and 21 times more to advance that sales lead into the sales funnel if approached within the first 5 minutes of lead submittal. Interdependence requires harmony. Marketing and sales are separate functions within most organizations, and they don't always work in harmony together. Marketing often blames the sales force for its poor execution of an otherwise brilliant marketing rollout strategy. The sales team will blame the marketing department for being out of touch with customers' demands, poor quality leads, outdated marketing materials, and lack of awareness of competitors' superior offers. Marketing will blame sales for their inability to follow up and close good qualified leads and lack of understanding of products sold. Plus, sales is way too focused on individual customer demands, rather than looking at the whole market and taking into consideration future trends that may affect the industry. In short, these two groups tend to undervalue their contributions rather than build on them to create team synergy. When marketing and sales are not aligned, revenue and employee morale suffer. Conversely, when they work well together, we see significant improvement on key performance indicators ranging from shorter sales cycle, lower cost of sales, faster conversion rate, better market data sharing, higher employee morale, and greater customer satisfaction. A Harvard Business Review study revealed that companies that contacted potential customers within an hour of receiving the lead were 7 times more likely to connect with a decision maker than those who waited 2 hours or more, and 60 times more likely than those who attempted after 24 hours. Web leads have a short lifespan. Response time matters. This study highlights the fact that marketing efforts, generating leads, work best when sales teams, close the deal, work with a sense of urgency and purpose. Why the friction? There are 2 significant reasons why marketing and sales struggle to work together. Economic reason: senior management allocates a yearly budget to the marketing and sales department. The marketing departments spend its budget on pricing, promotion, and product. The marketing group sets the pricing in a specific way that will allow it to meet its revenue goals, and sets pricing guidelines and instructs the sales group to sell the price as opposed to lowering the price to make more sales. Salespeople, facing market reality and intense competition, often recourse to reducing the price as an incentive to meet customer demands, facilitate negotiations, shorten the sales cycle, and speed up the decision-making process. The marketing group has the power to set pricing guidelines. However, the sales team ultimately decides on the selling price. The vice president of sales often reaches out to either the senior vice president of finance or the CFO for pricing consideration and exceptions when the requests are below marketing-specific guidelines. This ability to override marketing pricing guidelines often creates friction among these groups. Promotion cost. Marketing groups spend money creating ads and promotions on different social media platforms, billboards, and television advertising to generate customer awareness, create interest, build preferences, and invoke a desire for the product. The vice president of sales often feels that television ads and billboard advertising rarely produce value, and when they do, they often cannot be measured. A better investment would be increasing the size and quality of the sales force, and its impact is usually measurable and immediate. Product. Most product releases come with some level of needed improvement. Salespeople's job is to sell the product as it is, rather than how it should be. Salespeople often sell a promised outcome to their customers, and they are expected to deliver on it. Customers get irritated when the product lacks some needed features, has a poor design, or fails to achieve the outcome that was guaranteed by the sales rep. Dealing with angry customers, major escalations, buyer's remorse, and having one's personal reputation tarnished is often a subject of great frustration for salespeople. Salespeople's worldview is often shaped by the needs of its customer, while the broad appeal shapes marketing's worldview. Budget issues are always contentious. Marketing requires considerable economic powers to buy space to promote the company brand and its business solutions value. Most of its impact is intangible and long-term, while an investment in the sales group can generate a tangible, short-run effect on the company bottom line. Salespeople view their marketing counterpart as bureaucrats sitting behind a desk, surfing social media, and using predictive analytics to gauge marketing project performances. Salespeople see themselves as doing the hard lifting, field prospecting, presenting, overcoming obstacles, building relationships with their customers while testing and evaluating the product appeal and areas of deficiencies. It is easy to see why these 2 distinct groups have difficulty working together toward a common goal. Purpose-driven compensation plan. Part of the reason why marketing and sales act as rivals rather than partners lies in their planned compensation structure. The sales organization should design compensation plan incentives that align marketing and sales toward the achievement of specific goals that enhance productivity. The company goal achievement is the ultimate goal. Therefore, these incentives must be a laser focus on the products that the company wants to sell. Salespeople are driven by their sales quota to achieve bonuses and keep their job. They are masters at working the sales compensation plan and become extremely analytical when it comes to maximizing their ability to make money by taking advantage of any loopholes in the compensation plan. Compensation plans that are non-performance driven are horrible because they diminish competitiveness, lower production, and spur complacency. Comp plans that promote individual overperformance are excellent for morale as they compensate the individual according to productivity, rather than being part of a team that performs well. A good comp plan should allow top performers to make ridiculous money, to ignite other sales reps to increase their performance intensity to overachieve. The comp plan should be as simple as possible. If you work hard and are super committed to overproduce, the company will pay you extraordinarily well. Sales reps who barely get by should not be allowed to stay around these hungry, committed super producers. Underperformance tolerance should be banned. On the flip side, the company must find a way that allows marketing folks and sales folks to get compensated for working together as a united force to meet or exceed company objectives. You would probably agree that paying more for newly acquired customers is worth more than paying for maintaining an existing customer. Now, don't get me wrong here. Keeping and growing your existing customer base is vital. However, sales effectiveness is the ability of the organization to capture new dollars. Paying higher commissions for new sales should be encouraged. Sales hunters, business development sales reps, should be compensated differently than sales farmers, account managers. Part of the reason that sales organizations struggle to acquire new business is because the comp plan doesn't motivate sales reps to push hard to acquire the business. Salespeople are often compelled to lower the selling price on their products to meet quota, while the marketing group would lament that the sales group is not selling effectively and shying away from selling higher margin products bundles. Salespeople are paid a commission immediately upon selling, installing, and activating a business solution. Marketing folks enjoy a higher salary and discretionary bonus when the group meets company goals. The marketing budget is allocated to specific company programs, not necessarily to people, and to complicate the matter more, some of these program impacts take an enormous amount of time to generate value, and even then it's hard to measure their effectiveness. It is easier to measure the success of sales by the number of closes. However, it may take a marketing campaign more than 6 months to start seeing any measurable results. And it's even harder to begin quantifying a marketing campaign impact. Marketing is all about influence. But it's tough to measure the latter, e.g., a sales rep closing a lead provided by an existing client. While word of mouth is the best referral type, the signing customer may have done some research on the products by reading company reviews, online marketing material, and blog posts to make the right choice. In this case, sales will get credit but not marketing. Marketing and sales are vital forces that complement one another and should work closely together for the greater good because they cannot survive separately. Scalable good marketing strategy and execution can provide the necessary support to help sales attain its objectives. Marketing creates customer awareness, initiates desire, customizes native content, and sends important communication that moves customers to action. Several studies have demonstrated that marketing and sales interactions within many significant corporations are minimal at best and often awkward. Sales marketers' responsibility is to craft messages that the buyer can identify with and say, "Yep, that's me." Most corporations have separate goals for marketing and sales, rather than one common collective goal. Instead of having team performance goals, these companies should have division performance goals. All units of production should work to accomplish one goal: company revenue objectives. After all, the company is one unit of output. All its departments rise and fall together. Factors contributing to the discord between marketing and sales. 1. Poor communication. The irony is that sales and marketing's significant strength is communication skills. These groups often fail miserably to conduct a productive dialogue and establish an interdepartmental communication model that promotes understanding and trust. 2. Budget. Allocated financial resources are always limited in nature and scope. The marketing group needs money to finance its programs. Sales needs money to hire and train new and existing salespeople. And it also requires a budget to incentivize and reward salespeople for exceptional performances. Marketing and sales executives' big egos and entitlement create friction, resentment, and group dissatisfaction. 3. Professional views conflict. Most salespeople feel that the marketing group is too broadly focused and often ignore local customer wants and desires. Conversely, marketing people perceive salespeople as having myopic views as they focus on individual customer wants rather than border market. 4. Professional differences. Marketers tend to be analytical, factual, methodical, and strategic in their approach to achieve specific goals, while salespeople are primarily focused on building long-term relationships, engaging new and existing customers while closing deals. The marketing group and sales group priorities and approaches, while similar in some areas, are broadly distinct, leaving room for misinterpretation, misunderstanding, and occasional cultural clashes. 5. Pipeline misalignment. The marketing group's job is to build a growing, large pipeline of qualified leads. Salespeople's job is to close as many opportunities as fast as possible to meet their quota and achieve their bonuses. Salespeople often complain about the poor quality of leads or shortage of lead flow. Marketing group often blame salespeople for poor follow-up, slow reaction to reach on leads, and dismissal of qualified leads within less than 2 attempts. 6. Strategic misalignment. According to a Marketo study, at least $1 trillion is lost annually due to misaligned sales and marketing strategies. Mismanagement of leads often slows the process down, creates time waste, redundancies, process inefficiencies, and loss of opportunity. Cross-functional team alignment leads to growth. Most functional units within companies, finance, marketing, sales, legal, work toward the accomplishment of their own goals. This strategy often focuses on team and division wins, rather than the whole organizational success. Internal divisional competition is well and good if every division works in harmony with other business units to advance the company toward the attainment of its collective goals. For example, you cannot have a car run well when its engine cylinders run in different sequences. The power of the engine depends on the synchronicity of its collective parts. The same principle applies to corporations. All functional teams should work as one force that moves forward to achieve corporate growth by meeting their business objectives while aiding other cross-functional teams in attaining theirs as well. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos and CTO Werner Vogels have implemented a method called the institutional yes. This idea generation system allows an employee to present to their manager any good idea deemed worthy of evaluation. The manager's default answer should be a yes, and if the manager decides to say no, then they're required to write a 2-page thesis explaining why it's a bad idea. By doing so, Amazon has created an environment where more ideas are being tested and implemented throughout the whole organization. Genuine company success requires the strength of all its essential divisions. A lack of harmony or weakness of some of its parts can lead to a failure of the whole system. Just like a deadlift champion would exercise several muscle groups at the same time, e.g., back, glutes, and legs. A champion knows everything matters: good form, movement, hip-width ratio. Any flaw can result in failure and potential injury. Company internal departments are interdependent of one another, e.g., a sale that requires a price exception and a contract modification to happen will need marketing permission, finance approval, and legal assistance. Without the collaboration of these departments, the sale will never become a reality. Marketing and sales conflict stages. Given the economic and cultural conflicts described above, it's reasonable to expect dissatisfaction and mistrust among these groups. Now, it's easy to believe that the nature of the issue is way too broad and complex for a quick resolution. In reality, these conflicts are human-made and can be resolved with dialogue and alignment of purpose. When the relationship between marketing and sales matures and they align behind everyday goals, growth happens quickly. Entrepreneurial stage. The company is at its infancy, and there is no defined strategy on how these two groups should work together. Each group works according to its agenda. Most communications revolve around reactive issue resolutions rather than proactive cooperation. Collective goals are not defined, and mistrust abounds among these two groups. Get-along stage. Sales and marketing understand they should work together civilly to create opportunities and minimize conflict. The marketing team and the sales team focus on what they do best and start working together to promote the company with partners during special events and trade shows. Trust and relationships start building gradually. A partnership stage. Sales and marketing are focused on their distinct business, but have a complete understanding that both parties depend on one another to grow and achieve goals. Both groups agree to use similar work terminology to facilitate communication and speed up progress and results. Marketers start being involved in large accounts, leveraging field reps' customer relationships to conduct surveys and collect feedback and get more involved in the general education of the sales force on how to leverage marketing to acquire more substantial and complex accounts. Fusion stage. This is the ultimate stage where the boundaries between sales and marketing become almost invisible. Both groups actively share ideas, insight, opportunities, and systems that gauge customers' spend trends, loyalty, and reward programs. This stage reflects the ideal state where marketing and sales act as one force, that work together to improve the company brand by providing the ultimate customer experience every time. Risk mitigation. Imagine you board a flight, and as soon as you're settled in your seat, you overhear two flight attendants' conversation behind you. You should know that the pilot had attempted suicide several times in the past, and his co-pilot has just spent a week in the hospital for experiencing major episodes of depression. How safe would you feel getting to your destination? What kind of stress and fear would you experience knowing these two critical individuals have suicidal tendencies or mental emotional issues? It would be natural to worry about your safety in these conditions. Knowing that your life is in the hands of two mentally unstable individuals is a scary fact. Yet, if you had never heard the conversation, you would be just fine. Sales and marketing self-sabotaging and undermining each other's value and credibility is counterproductive and harmful. One will never insult a customer by implying they are unrealistic, dishonest, or lazy. Yet sales and marketing often berate one another, demean each other's effort and contribution, just like two siblings who cannot live apart but cannot stand being close. These self-sabotages can get resolved with conscious effort from both groups to refrain from judgment through a heightened state of awareness and education. Problems and misunderstandings can only be solved once recognized and addressed with the best interest of the company in mind, not self-interest. How to solve this dilemma? Uncover the root of the problem that leads to marketing and sales misalignment and friction. Quantify and educate both parties on the economic and moral impact of the problem. Design and implement a path of communication and collaboration that is tied to a reward system or an incentive to change to achieve a fusion stage. Synergy is at its optimum when clarity, understanding, and commitment are aligned to achieve mutual objectives. The integration of marketing and sales can be a winning formula. They are equally important, and they must work in tandem for better company future. Chapter 1. Summary. Marketing and sales should work as a force of one. Departmental politics and personal rivalry should be identified, discussed, and eliminated to create the necessary synergy to meet goals and surpass the competition. Marketing and sales work interdependence requires harmony to achieve mutual objectives. And sales executives should generate a compensation plan that recognizes and rewards efforts and exceptional performances that contribute to the ultimate goal. Company objectives. Aligning cross-functional teams to work as a force of one to deliver on the company goal will lead to revenue growth and employee satisfaction. The landscape of marketing and sales is experiencing a seismic transformation unlike anything seen in decades. Traditional strategies that once formed the bedrock of customer acquisition, cold outreach campaigns, aggressive sales funnels, and scripted pitches, are failing at an accelerating rate. This isn't merely an evolution. It's a fundamental reimagining of how businesses connect with potential customers in an increasingly complex digital ecosystem. At the heart of this transformation lies a perfect storm of converging forces. Today's buyers wield unprecedented power, armed with infinite information at their fingertips and increasingly sophisticated tools to filter marketing noise. They enter conversations already informed, skeptical of traditional sales approaches and expecting personalized value before they'll consider engaging. The psychology of purchasing has fundamentally shifted from information scarcity to information abundance, creating an environment where trust has become the scarcest and most valuable currency. Simultaneously, artificial intelligence has emerged as both savior and potential destroyer of authentic business relationships. While AI promises to streamline operations, predict customer behavior, and personalize at scale, it also threatens to create uncanny valley interactions that feel manufactured rather than genuine. Organizations are struggling to find the delicate balance between efficiency and humanity, automation and authenticity, Compounding these challenges is the persistent misalignment between sales and marketing departments that continues to plague even the most sophisticated organizations. Despite decades of emphasis on breaking down silos, most companies still operate with fundamentally disconnected goals, tools, metrics, and cultures between these critical revenue-generating functions. The result is a disjointed customer experience that undermines trust precisely when it's most essential. Perhaps most concerning is the cognitive overload facing both buyers and sellers. We've moved beyond mere information overload into an era where the sheer volume of content, data points, and engagement channels has created decision paralysis on both sides of the transaction. Buyers struggle to differentiate between increasingly similar offerings, while sellers drown in automation tools that promise results but often deliver diminishing returns. This paper examines these intersecting challenges in depth, exploring not just the theoretical frameworks, but the practical, on-the-ground realities facing marketing and sales professionals today. Through detailed analysis of emerging trends, case studies of both successful transformations and cautionary failures, and interviews with frontline professionals, we'll build a comprehensive understanding of this rapidly changing landscape. More importantly, we'll move beyond diagnosing the problem to prescribing actionable solutions. By the conclusion, you'll have a clear roadmap for navigating this perfect storm, strategies for rebuilding trust in an age of skepticism, leveraging AI while maintaining humanity, aligning sales and marketing into a cohesive revenue engine, cutting through information noise with genuine insights, and replacing outdated linear funnels with momentum-building flywheels. The organizations that thrive in the coming decade won't be those with the biggest budgets or the most sophisticated technology. They'll be the ones that most effectively navigate this complex intersection of human psychology, technological capability, and organizational alignment. They'll be the ones that rebuild trust in an era of skepticism and deliver genuine value in a world drowning in content. This is your guide to becoming one of those organizations. 1. The empowered, skeptical buyer. Why traditional sales tactics are failing. The fundamental shift in buyer psychology. The modern buyer exists in a state of perpetual skepticism. This isn't merely a demographic shift or a temporary response to economic uncertainty. It represents a fundamental rewiring of the purchasing psychology that dominated for decades. To understand the depth of this transformation, we must first acknowledge its origins. The internet democratized information access, but social media and review platforms democratized information creation. The result is a buyer who no longer relies exclusively, or even primarily, on vendor-provided information to make decisions. According to comprehensive research by Gartner, nearly 70% of the B2B buying journey is now completed before a prospect ever engages directly with a sales representative. This represents a complete inversion of the traditional sales model where reps controlled the flow of information. Today's buyers instead construct their own information ecosystem from multiple sources they deem more trustworthy than vendor messaging. Peer reviews have become the cornerstone of buying decisions. Platforms like G2, Capterra, and TrustRadius in B2B, or Amazon, Yelp, and Google reviews in B2C, now exert more influence than million-dollar marketing campaigns. A Harvard Business Review study found that 82% of enterprise buyers read online reviews before making purchasing decisions, with the average buyer consulting 13 different sources. Perhaps more telling, a SaaS management platform analysis revealed that negative reviews are read for 4x longer than positive ones, highlighting the heightened scrutiny buyers bring to the process. Social media has evolved from a supplementary channel to often the primary battlefield for reputation. Conversations about products and services happen in real time on platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, and increasingly in niche communities. What's particularly notable is the shift toward unfiltered dialogue. According to Edelman's Trust Barometer, trust in a person like me has consistently outranked trust in company CEOs, technical experts, and certainly marketing materials. This explains the explosive growth of platforms like Reddit, which saw its monthly active users grow to over 500 million in 2023, with product and service discussions representing one of its fastest-growing content categories. Independent research tools have proliferated and become increasingly sophisticated. Beyond Google searches, buyers now leverage AI assistants, YouTube explainers, industry analyst reports, and comparison engines to self-educate. A striking data point from Google's own research reveals that 63% of shopping occasions begin online, even for products ultimately purchased offline, indicating that the digital research phase has become nearly universal. The psychology of decision paralysis. Counterintuitively, this abundance of information hasn't made decisions easier. It's made them more difficult. Decision paralysis has emerged as a defining characteristic of the modern buying journey. With endless options and information sources, buyers struggle to differentiate between increasingly similar vendors and offerings. This paralysis manifests in several observable trends. Expanded buying committees. McKinsey's research reveals that B2B purchase decisions now involve an average of 6 to 10 decision-makers, up from 5.4 just 2 years ago. Each stakeholder brings their own research, priorities, and concerns, creating internal friction that extends sales cycles. Increased deal scrutiny. According to Deloitte's procurement study, 58% of purchase decisions now require formal business case development, compared to just 37% in 2019. The bar for justifying expenditures continues to rise. Multiple competing priorities. A Gartner survey of senior executives found that the average enterprise is simultaneously pursuing 8 to 12 major initiatives, creating competition for both budget and attention. Analysis paralysis. When faced with too many options and data points, psychological research shows that many buyers resort to the default choice, maintaining the status quo. This explains why, despite dissatisfaction with current vendors, many organizations still fail to make changes. The measurable impact on sales and marketing performance. This shift in buyer psychology isn't merely theoretical. It's reflected in measurable performance metrics that showcase the death of traditional approaches. The collapse of cold outreach. According to comprehensive data from SalesLoft spanning over 200 million sales interactions, response rates for cold emails have plummeted below 1% in most industries, with open rates following a similar downward trajectory. A Rain Group study found that it now takes an average of 8 touchpoints to even generate an initial meeting, compared to 3.6 just 5 years ago. The ghosting epidemic. Perhaps most frustrating for sales teams is the rise of ghosting. Prospects who engage initially but disappear without explanation. A study by Sales Insights Lab found that 58% of sales processes end not with a formal no, but with complete disengagement. This represents a particular challenge because it prevents organizations from gathering the feedback necessary to improve. Marketing's shifting mandate. The implications for marketing are equally profound. Demand generation is no longer primarily about capturing attention, but about delivering value before the prospect identifies themselves. Content must educate genuinely, not just attract. HubSpot's own analysis reveals that educational content outperforms promotional content by 3 to 1 in engagement metrics. Yet many organizations still overwhelmingly produce the latter. Real-world example: the downfall of inbound lead conversion. To understand the practical impact of these shifts, consider the case of Digital First Technologies, a mid-market SaaS provider in the marketing automation space. From 2016-2019, the company built a high-performing inbound engine generating over 2,000 monthly qualified leads through content marketing and search optimization. Their conversion rates were industry-leading. 35% of inbound demo requests converted to sales calls, and 12% ultimately became customers. By 2023, despite increasing their content production and marketing spend by 40%, those numbers had collapsed. Demo attendance dropped to just 18%, and the lead-to-customer conversion rate fell below 5%. A detailed analysis revealed several factors behind this decline. Over-automation without personalization. In an effort to scale, Digital First had implemented aggressive marketing automation. Leads received up to 12 touchpoints in the first 30 days, all automated, template-based, and focused on pushing the next step rather than addressing the prospect's specific questions and concerns. Lack of genuine subject matter expertise. As content production scaled, quality suffered. Rather than insights from practitioners, content became generic, covering topics that were already well addressed elsewhere. When prospects did engage with sales, they frequently commented that the conversations added little beyond what they'd already discovered independently. Trust indicators were missing. The company focused on flashy design and feature promotion rather than the proof points buyers actually sought. Detailed case studies, transparent pricing, clear implementation requirements, and authentic customer testimonials addressing potential concerns. No community presence. While digital first focused exclusively on owned channels, conversations about their solution category were happening primarily in industry Slack groups, specialized subreddits, and peer communities, places where the company had no authentic presence. The company has since undergone a comprehensive transformation, rebuilding their approach around buyer education and trust building rather than lead volume, a shift that required painful reductions in vanity metrics but ultimately led to revenue growth. The rise of the dark funnel, perhaps the most significant emerging trend, is what industry analysts now call the dark funnel. Buying journeys that happen in channels invisible to traditional marketing attribution. Increasingly, purchase decisions are influenced by conversations in private Slack communities, Discord servers, text messages between peers, and other channels where traditional marketing cannot reach. This represents a fundamental challenge to existing marketing models that rely on visibility and attribution. You can't optimize what you can't measure. According to research from Demand Gen Report, nearly 80% of B2B buyers reported that their decision was influenced by sources that would be invisible to the vendor's analytics. Organizations at the forefront of addressing this challenge are taking radically different approaches. Consider Webflow, the no-code web development platform that has achieved remarkable growth despite limited traditional marketing spend. Their strategy centered on authentic community engagement, including dedicated community resources who focus not on promotion, but on genuinely helpful participation in design communities. A transparent product roadmap that actively solicits and incorporates user feedback. Support team members empowered to engage in public channels rather than forcing conversations into private tickets. Regular building in public sessions where product developments are shared in real time. The result is a presence in the channels where real conversations happen, but this presence is built on trust and value contribution rather than interruption or promotion. Future outlook. From mass messaging to micro-influence. Looking ahead, the most successful organizations will recognize that influence has fragmented. Rather than a few major publications or influencers dominating a category, buyers now trust networks of micro-influencers, often practitioners with small but highly engaged followings who are viewed as authentically knowledgeable rather than promotional. This trend favors organizations that can identify and genuinely collaborate with these micro-influencers, not through traditional sponsorship arrangements, but through value-adding partnerships. It also advantages organizations that empower their own employees to become trusted voices in their respective communities, a strategy pioneered by companies like IBM, which has built a network of over 1,000 employee thought leaders who collectively generate more engagement than the official corporate channels. The overarching lesson is clear. Traditional marketing and sales approaches are failing not because of tactical execution flaws, but because of fundamental misalignment with how modern buyers make decisions. Organizations that recognize and adapt to this reality, prioritizing trust building over interruption, education over promotion, and authentic engagement over mass messaging, will outperform those still operating on outdated assumptions about buyer behavior. 2. AI in sales and marketing revolution or trust crisis. The transformative promise of AI. The integration of artificial intelligence into sales and marketing processes represents perhaps the most significant technological disruption since the advent of the internet itself. Unlike previous waves of digital transformation that primarily changed the channels of communication, AI is transforming the nature of the communication itself, potentially augmenting or even replacing human-to-human interactions that have been foundational to commerce for millennia. The potential benefits are profound. Predictive intelligence has advanced from simple lead scoring to sophisticated forecasting of buyer intent and behavior. Platforms like Gong and Chorus analyze thousands of sales conversations to identify patterns invisible to human observation. Their algorithms can predict with 85% plus accuracy which deals will close based on linguistic and behavioral markers in early interactions. Meanwhile, companies like Mad Kudu and 6 Sense have developed AI models that can identify buying intent before the prospect even reaches out, analyzing thousands of digital signals to predict who is entering a buying cycle. Hyper-personalization has evolved far beyond inserting a prospect's name into templated emails. Advanced AI systems from vendors like Persado and Frasy don't just personalize content. They generate it uniquely for each recipient based on their digital body language, past interactions, and even psychological profiles. The most sophisticated implementations analyze hundreds of variables to deliver messaging optimized, not just for generic personas, but for specific individuals at specific moments in their journey. Natural language generation tools like GPT-4 and Claude have transformed content creation. What began as simple applications like generating email subject lines has expanded to producing entire communication sequences, blog posts, video scripts, and even personalized proposals. These systems can now produce content that is increasingly indistinguishable from human-created alternatives, often at a fraction of the time and cost. Real-time conversation assistance has moved from experimental to mainstream in just 3 years. Tools like Gong, Chorus, and Cresta provide real-time guidance to sales representatives during live conversations, suggesting responses, offering objection handling approaches, or alerting them to missed opportunities, all while the interaction is ongoing. Autonomous customer engagement systems, particularly sophisticated chatbots and virtual assistants, now handle a significant portion of pre-sales queries. According to research from Drift, AI-powered conversational platforms now successfully resolve over 40% of initial sales inquiries without human intervention, and this percentage continues to rise with each generation of the technology. The efficiency gains from these technologies are undeniable. Companies implementing AI-driven sales enablement report average productivity increases of 27%, Salesforce State of Sales report, while marketing organizations leveraging AI for content personalization see engagement improvements averaging 34%, Epsilon. The question is no longer whether AI will transform these functions, but how organizations can harness its capabilities while avoiding its pitfalls. The dark side: authenticity, ethics, and the uncanny valley. Despite its promise, AI implementation in sales and marketing comes with significant risks that have already begun to materialize. The erosion of authentic connection represents perhaps the greatest danger. As AI gets better at mimicking human communication, it risks creating what technologists call the uncanny valley, interactions that are almost but not quite human, creating a sense of discomfort or even revulsion. This manifests in sales contexts when prospects realize they've been engaging with automated systems passing as humans, creating deep feelings of manipulation and distrust. Consider the cautionary example of Rapid Growth Technologies, a sales prospecting firm that implemented AI-based voice synthesis technology to scale outreach calls. The system, which dynamically generated personalized conversations based on prospect data, initially showed promising results. However, when prospects began realizing they were speaking with an AI system, primarily due to subtle, unnatural speech patterns, the backlash was severe. Not only did response rates plummet, but several recipients publicly criticized the company on social media, creating lasting reputational damage. Over-reliance on automation has led to what sales researcher Jeb Blount calls technological abdication, the outsourcing of relationship building to systems incapable of genuine empathy or understanding. A study by Sales Benchmark Index found that sales organizations with the highest levels of automation paradoxically experienced declining win rates over a 24-month period. The analysis revealed that while activity metrics increased dramatically, the quality of interactions deteriorated as representatives became disconnected from the human elements of the sales process. Ethical concerns surrounding AI in sales and marketing are multiplying faster than regulatory frameworks can address them. AI hallucinations, fabricated or confidently stated inaccurate information, have already resulted in documented cases of misrepresentation, where AI systems generated fictitious case studies, testimonials, or product capabilities that were presented to prospects as factual. Algorithmic bias remains pervasive despite efforts to address it. A notable study from MIT found that sales engagement AI systematically prioritized outreach to prospects with traditionally white-sounding names over equally qualified prospects with names associated with other ethnic groups. Similar biases have been documented in content generation, image creation, and lead scoring algorithms. Privacy violations have emerged as AI systems push the boundaries of personalization. One enterprise software company implemented an AI system that analyzed prospects' social media posts to detect personal life events, weddings, births, job changes, as triggers for sales outreach. The initiative was abandoned after widespread criticism regarding its invasiveness, despite being technically legal under current regulations. Disclosure questions remain largely unresolved. When is an organization ethically obligated to disclose that an interaction is AI-generated or AI-assisted? Most consumers believe they have a right to know when they're interacting with AI rather than humans, but industry practices vary widely in the absence of consistent regulation. The trust paradox. When transparency and efficiency collide. Organizations face a fundamental paradox. The same AI capabilities that can dramatically improve efficiency may simultaneously undermine the trust essential for effective sales and marketing. This creates difficult strategic choices with no obvious optimal solution. For example, consider the case of personalized video messages. AI can now generate seemingly personalized videos where a spokesperson appears to address the recipient directly, mentioning their name, company, and specific details. These videos drive significantly higher engagement than text-based alternatives. However, as these technologies proliferate, recipients increasingly question whether the personalization is genuine or mass-produced, potentially creating more skepticism than if no personalization attempt had been made at all. Similar tensions exist across nearly all AI applications in the sales and marketing domain. Research from the Edelman Trust Barometer reveals a complex consumer attitude toward AI. 73% express interest in its benefits, but 68% have concerns about manipulation and inauthenticity. This creates a strategic challenge for organizations: how to leverage the efficiency of AI while maintaining the authenticity that customers increasingly demand. Emerging best practices. The human plus AI hybrid approach. The organizations most effectively navigating this paradox are adopting what might be called a centaur model, combining AI capabilities with human judgment, creativity, and ethical oversight. Rather than viewing AI as a replacement for human functions, they position it as an augmentation tool that enhances human capabilities. Microsoft's Sales Copilot serves as an instructive case study. Rather than using AI to replace salespeople, the system functions as an always-available assistant that handles routine tasks, meeting summaries, follow-up drafting, CRM updates, while providing intelligence amplification, relationship history, recommended next steps, competitive insights that makes the human representative more informed and effective. Representatives maintain control over final communications, ensuring that the human touch remains present while eliminating low-value administrative tasks. Similarly, in marketing, organizations like MailChimp have implemented AI systems that generate initial content drafts but require human review and refinement before publication. This approach leverages AI efficiency while maintaining human quality control and judgment, particularly around brand voice, cultural sensitivity, and factual accuracy. The most sophisticated implementations go further, creating what researchers call centaur workflows, where tasks bounce between human and AI based on their respective strengths. For example, AI analyzes prospect engagement data to identify high-potential targets. Human salesperson reviews and refines this list based on relationship knowledge. AI generates personalized outreach drafts. Human edits these drafts, adding genuine personal touches. AI schedules and optimizes delivery timing. Human conducts the actual sales conversation. It provides real-time assistance during the conversation. Human maintains relationship ownership and judgment. This hybrid approach capitalizes on AI's computational advantages while preserving the human connection essential to trust building. The regulatory horizon, preparing for AI transparency requirements. Forward-thinking organizations are also preparing for an inevitable wave of AI regulation that will impact sales and marketing practices. The European Union's AI Act represents the most comprehensive regulatory framework to date, establishing clear requirements for transparency, accountability, and human oversight of AI systems, including those used in commercial contexts. While U.S. regulation remains fragmented, state-level initiatives like California's bot disclosure law, requiring chatbots to identify themselves as non-human, and proposed federal legislation suggest a similar trajectory toward mandatory transparency. Organizations exclusively focused on short-term efficiency gains may find themselves forced into disruptive adjustments as these regulations take effect. Proactive companies are already implementing voluntary transparency practices, not just as regulatory preparation, but as a trust-building measure. These include clear disclosure, when communications are AI-generated or AI-assisted, explicit opt-in for AI-based personalization rather than assuming consent. Human review processes for AI-generated content with potential risk elements. Regular algorithmic audits to identify and remediate potential biases. Future outlook. The evolution of AI in sales and marketing. Looking ahead, several trends appear likely to shape AI's role in sales and marketing. AI augmentation rather than replacement will become the dominant paradigm. Organizations that attempted full automation of customer-facing functions have largely discovered that cost savings are offset by reduced effectiveness and trust erosion. The future belongs to carefully designed human-AI collaborations that leverage the comparative advantages of each. Transparency will become a competitive advantage. As consumers grow more sophisticated about AI capabilities, they will increasingly favor brands that are honest about their AI usage, rather than those attempting to disguise it. Some forward-thinking companies have already begun highlighting their ethical AI practices as a differentiator. Emotional intelligence will be the new frontier. While current AI systems can recognize basic sentiment, truly understanding emotional nuance and responding with appropriate empathy remains a distinctly human capability. Sales and marketing professionals who develop these soft skills will become more valuable, not less, as technical tasks are automated. Specialized AI for vertical applications will proliferate. Rather than generic AI systems, we'll see increasingly specialized applications designed for specific industries, buying processes, and customer segments. These specialized systems will incorporate domain-specific knowledge and ethical frameworks appropriate to their contexts. The organizations that thrive will be those that view AI not merely as a cost-cutting or efficiency tool, but as part of a broader strategy to enhance human capabilities while maintaining authentic connection. They will use technology to handle routine aspects of sales and marketing while freeing their people to focus on the trust-building.
3. Sales and marketing misalignment. Why it's worse than ever. The persistent divide, structure, culture, and technology. Despite decades of discussion about the importance of alignment between sales and marketing functions, the reality in most organizations remains discouraging. What's particularly concerning is that in many companies, misalignment has actually worsened over the past 5 years despite increased awareness of the problem. Understanding why requires examining structural, cultural, and technological factors that perpetuate the divide. At the structural level, most organizations continue to maintain completely separate departments with different reporting lines, often not converging until the C-suite level. This organizational design explicitly encourages siloed thinking and competition for resources rather than collaboration towards shared outcomes. The problem is exacerbated by compensation structures that typically reward marketing for generating activity, leads, engagement, awareness, while sales compensation focuses exclusively on closed revenue, creating fundamental incentive misalignment. Cultural differences between the functions remain pronounced. A comprehensive study by the CMO Council found that marketing and sales teams continue to exhibit distinctly different working styles, communication preferences, risk tolerances, and time horizons. Marketing professionals typically emphasize long-term brand building, creative experimentation, and data-driven decision-making, while sales culture prioritizes short-term results, relationship development, and intuitive judgment. These differences aren't inherently problematic, but without structured processes for collaboration, they lead to mutual frustration rather than complementary strengths. Perhaps most troubling is the technology fragmentation that persists despite vendor promises of integrated solutions. A typical enterprise maintains separate systems for marketing automation, e.g., Marketo, HubSpot, Pardo, customer relationship management, e.g., Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, sales enablement, e.g., Seismic, Showpad, sales engagement, e.g., Outreach, SalesLoft, content management, e.g., WordPress, Contentful, analytics, e.g., Google Analytics, Tableau. While these systems may have technical integrations, they typically maintain separate databases, user interfaces, and reporting structures, reinforcing departmental divisions rather than bridging them. According to research from Forrester, the average enterprise marketing team uses 91 different software applications, while sales adds another 43 tools. Only 17% of these applications are regularly used by both departments. The business impact of misalignment. The consequences of continued sales and marketing misalignment extend far beyond internal frustration. They directly impact business results in measurable ways. Wasted content investment represents one of the most visible symptoms. According to SiriusDecisions, 60–70% of B2B content created by marketing goes completely unused by sales teams. This represents not just wasted budget but missed opportunities to support customer conversations with relevant materials. When sales teams do use marketing content, it's often heavily modified or completely recreated, duplicating effort and potentially creating inconsistent messaging. Conflicting customer experiences occur when prospects receive disconnected communications from marketing and sales. The marketing department might nurture a lead with thought leadership content about industry trends, only to have a sales representative immediately pivot to product features without acknowledging the prospect's demonstrated interests. This creates cognitive dissonance for the buyer and undermines trust in the organization as a whole. Inefficient resource allocation results from competing rather than complementary goals. A stark example comes from a large technology company that simultaneously ran a marketing campaign emphasizing strategic business outcomes while the sales team offered aggressive discounts for quick end-of-quarter transactions. These competing messages not only confused customers but actually decreased average deal size as prospects negotiated for both strategic value and discount pricing. Extended sales cycles emerge when marketing and sales activities aren't properly sequenced. Research from Marketing Sherpa found that aligned organizations achieve 38% higher sales win rates and 36% shorter sales cycles compared to their misaligned counterparts. This advantage comes from properly warming prospects before sales engagement and providing consistent, reinforcing messages throughout the buying journey. Inaccurate forecasting plagues organizations where marketing and sales operate from different datasets and assumptions. When marketing generates leads without sales input on ideal customer profiles, the result is often volume without quality. Conversely, when sales doesn't provide accurate close-rate data back to marketing, campaign ROI calculations become fundamentally flawed, leading to poor resource allocation decisions. The rise of revenue operations, breaking down silos. Forward-thinking organizations are addressing these challenges through fundamental restructuring rather than incremental improvements to existing models. The emergence of revenue operations, RevOps, as a unified function represents the most significant structural innovation in go-to-market organization in decades. Unlike traditional approaches that attempt to bridge separate departments, RevOps integrates marketing, sales, and customer success under unified leadership with shared goals, metrics, and technologies. Companies including Snowflake, HubSpot, and Atlassian have been at the forefront of this model, reporting significant improvements in go-to-market efficiency and effectiveness. The core elements of successful RevOps implementation include: unified revenue accountability replaces separate departmental metrics. Rather than marketing being evaluated on MQLs, marketing qualified leads, while sales focuses solely on closed deals, both teams share responsibility for the entire revenue pipeline from initial awareness through expansion and renewal. This creates natural incentives for collaboration rather than handoff optimization. Integrated technology stack consolidates previously siloed systems. Rather than maintaining separate platforms for marketing automation, CRM, and sales enablement, RevOps teams implement unified solutions or create seamless integrations between systems, ensuring all customer-facing teams work from the same data. Cross-functional processes replace departmental handoffs. Traditional processes focused on the lead handoff from marketing to sales, a transfer of responsibility that inherently created friction. RevOps models instead implement continuous collaboration throughout the customer journey, with marketing and sales activities happening in parallel rather than sequence. Shared content development ensures materials meet both brand standards and sales needs. Rather than marketing creating content in isolation, successful RevOps teams implement collaborative content development processes where sales provides input on customer pain points and objections while marketing contributes messaging consistency and production quality. Customer journey ownership shifts from departmental stages to holistic experience design. Instead of marketing owning the top of funnel while sales manages the middle and bottom, RevOps takes responsibility for the entire customer experience, designing consistent interactions regardless of which department executes specific touchpoints. 4. From information overload to insight-driven selling. The content crisis. Quantity without impact. The modern business landscape is drowning in content. According to the Content Marketing Institute, 91% of B2B organizations use content marketing, collectively producing over 4.7 million blog posts every day. This relentless production has created an environment where even the most diligent buyer cannot possibly consume more than a tiny fraction of the available information on any given topic. This content explosion stems from well-intentioned strategies. Organizations recognize that educational content could build trust and demonstrate expertise. However, implementation often focused on volume metrics rather than value creation. Marketing teams measure success by content production statistics, posts published, emails sent, social shares, rather than genuine impact on buyer understanding or decision-making. The result is what information scientists call content shock, a state where the volume of content exceeds human capacity to consume it. Research from Gartner reveals that B2B buyers now spend less than 17% of their total purchase journey interacting directly with supplier content, and even this limited engagement is spread across multiple vendors. For any individual provider, this translates to mere minutes of attention across a buying process that may span months. This dynamic creates a fundamental paradox. Organizations produce more content than ever, yet buyers feel less informed about their actual options. The problem isn't information scarcity but rather insight scarcity. Buyers struggle to extract meaningful conclusions from the sea of content that might genuinely guide their decisions. The death of content for content's sake. This market reality has triggered a profound shift in content strategy among leading organizations. The era of content for content's sake, producing material primarily to feed algorithms, check marketing boxes, or maintain publishing calendars, is giving way to a more focused approach centered on delivering genuine insights that buyers cannot easily find elsewhere. This transition is exemplified by companies like Gartner itself, whose research-driven content model has proven remarkably durable even as more generic content struggles to gain traction. The company's famous Challenger Sale methodology, which emphasizes teaching customers something new and valuable about their own business, has become not just a sales approach but a content philosophy. By providing genuinely novel perspectives rather than recycling conventional wisdom, Gartner's content cuts through the noise and commands premium rates in a landscape where most content is freely available. Similarly, Notion, the productivity software company that achieved unicorn status with minimal traditional marketing, built its growth strategy around community-driven insight sharing rather than company-created promotional content. Their approach centered on enabling users to share genuine innovations in workflow design, team collaboration, and information management. By curating and amplifying these user insights rather than creating top-down marketing narratives, Notion fostered an ecosystem where the most valuable information came from peers rather than the vendor, dramatically increasing credibility and adoption. The psychology of valuable insights. To understand what constitutes a genuinely valuable insight worth a buyer's limited attention, we must examine the psychological impact of different information types. Research in decision science distinguishes between three levels of information. Confirmatory information reinforces what the recipient already believes. While psychologically comfortable, due to confirmation bias, it provides little decision value since it doesn't change the buyer's understanding or direction. Surprising but irrelevant information may capture attention momentarily but fails to create lasting impact because it doesn't connect to the buyer's decision process or business priorities. Commercial insight, as defined by CEB, now Gartner, is information that meets three specific criteria. It reveals an unknown or underappreciated problem or opportunity. It connects that issue to significant business impact. It leads the buyer to consider a new approach they hadn't previously contemplated. This third category, commercial insight, creates what neuroscientists call a productive discomfort that motivates action. By challenging existing mental models while simultaneously offering a path forward, it creates the cognitive conditions necessary for decision change. The rise of interactive and AI-powered content. The future of insight delivery lies in content experiences that adapt to the buyer's specific context, questions, and knowledge level rather than static, one-size-fits-all assets. Two approaches are showing particular promise. Customized content leverages machine learning to dynamically tailor information presentation to the specific buyer. Early implementations already show remarkable results. For example, Path Factory, formerly Lookbook HQ, uses AI to analyze a prospect's content consumption patterns and automatically assemble personalized content sequences that reflect their specific interests and knowledge level. More sophisticated implementations are emerging that can dynamically modify case studies to highlight the elements most relevant to the specific prospect's industry and role, adjust technical depth based on the reader's demonstrated expertise level, incorporate company-specific data points into generic content frameworks, generate comparative analyses between the prospect's current approach and potential new solutions. These approaches shift content from a mass-produced commodity to a dynamically generated, personally relevant experience. Precisely the kind of high-value interaction that can cut through information overload. The human element, subject matter experts as content anchors. While technology enables more sophisticated content experiences, the human element remains critical for establishing trust and credibility. Organizations succeeding in the insight economy are elevating the visibility and accessibility of their genuine subject matter experts rather than relying primarily on marketing-created content. LinkedIn's transformation of its marketing approach illustrates this principle. Rather than focusing exclusively on company-branded content, they implemented what they call their collective voice strategy, amplifying the individual voices of employees with deep domain expertise. Through a systematic program of training, content support, and amplification, they enabled hundreds of employees to share authentic perspectives from their areas of specialization. This approach delivered multiple benefits. Content from individual experts receive 8x the engagement of company-branded posts. The diversity of authentic voices created more opportunities for relevant connection. Subject matter experts naturally focused on insights rather than promotion. The human faces associated with content created stronger trust signals. The most sophisticated organizations are now implementing structured programs to identify, develop, and amplify internal experts as the primary voices of their brands. A stark contrast to traditional approaches where marketing created content meant to appear as if it came from experts. Future outlook: the convergence of content and intelligence. Looking ahead, the distinctions between content, data, and intelligence systems will continue to blur. 3 emerging trends will shape this evolution. Content as a service will replace content as an asset. Rather than creating fixed documents, organizations will develop modular content components that can be dynamically assembled, customized, and delivered through various channels based on specific buyer needs and contexts. Embedded intelligence will transform passive content into active decision support. Starting with embedded calculators and assessment tools, this trend will evolve towards sophisticated modeling capabilities that allow buyers to visualize and quantify the potential impact of new approaches on their specific situation. Collaborative sense-making will supplement one-way content consumption. Rather than simply delivering information to passive recipients, leading companies will create environments where buyers, experts, and peers can collectively explore challenges and potential solutions, generating insights through dialogue and shared exploration rather than information transfer. The organizations that thrive in this new landscape will be those that recognize a fundamental truth: in a world of information abundance, attention is the scarcest resource. By focusing on delivering genuine insights through engaging, personalized experiences rather than simply adding to the content deluge, they will earn the most valuable currency in modern business: the thoughtful attention of potential customers. 5. The flywheel versus funnel. Why linear sales models are obsolete. The fundamental flaw in funnel thinking. For decades, the sales funnel has served as the dominant metaphor for customer acquisition. This familiar model depicts a linear progression from awareness to consideration to decision, with prospects narrowing at each stage until a small percentage converts to customers at the bottom. The funnel's enduring appeal lies in its simplicity and intuitive visual representation of conversion dynamics. However, this model contains a fundamental flaw that has become increasingly problematic as buying behavior evolves. It assumes a linear, sequential journey that bears little resemblance to how modern customers actually make decisions. Research from McKinsey conclusively demonstrates that today's buying journeys are anything but linear. The comprehensive analysis of B2B purchasing behavior revealed that the average buyer engages in 27 distinct information-gathering activities during a purchase journey. These activities occur across multiple channels, often simultaneously rather than sequentially. Nearly 90% of buyers revisit stages they had previously completed. As new information emerges, buyers frequently jump between stages based on discoveries, abandoning supposed later stage activities to restart earlier exploration. The reality of modern buying behavior resembles less a funnel than a complex adaptive system, a dynamic, nonlinear network of interactions that cannot be reduced to a simple sequential process. This fundamental mismatch between the funnel model and actual buyer behavior creates significant strategic problems for organizations that continue to structure their go-to-market approach around linear stage progressions. The real-world failure of funnel-based approaches. The practical consequences of funnel thinking can be observed in the failed customer acquisition strategy of Enterprise Cloud Solutions, ECS, a mid-market SaaS provider. Adhering strictly to funnel methodology, ECS designed a linear customer journey with distinct marketing-owned and sales-owned stages: awareness, marketing, digital advertising and content marketing, interest, marketing, lead magnet downloads and email nurturing, consideration, marketing, sales, demo requests and sales qualification, decision, sales, proposal presentation and negotiation, purchase, sales, contract signing and implementation handoff. This structured approach appeared logical, but consistently failed to produce expected results. Analysis of actual prospect behavior revealed why 64% of prospects who requested demos, supposedly entering the consideration stage, immediately returned to researching alternatives, visiting competitor websites and reading comparison content. 78% engaged with awareness content, thought leadership blog posts, after already receiving proposals. 52% consulted peer references, supposedly an early interest activity. In the final days before making decisions, 43% restarted their entire evaluation after supposedly reaching the decision stage. The company's rigid stage-based approach created significant friction. Marketing handed off leads to sales when they requested demos, ending nurture sequences precisely when prospects needed more educational content. Meanwhile, sales representatives focused exclusively on advancing deals through predetermined stages rather than responding to the actual information needs expressed by prospects. The net result was predictable: extended sales cycles, high opportunity costs, and win rates significantly below industry averages. After multiple failed attempts to optimize individual funnel stages, the company ultimately abandoned the model entirely in favor of a more dynamic approach. The flywheel alternative, building momentum rather than converting leads. In contrast to the funnel's linear conversion focus, the flywheel model, popularized by HubSpot but implemented in various forms by companies including Amazon, Tesla, and Monday.com, conceptualizes growth as a momentum-building system rather than a conversion process. The fundamental principles of the flywheel approach include: momentum as the primary metric replaces stage conversion rates. Rather than focusing exclusively on moving prospects from one stage to the next, the flywheel model emphasizes building and maintaining momentum throughout the entire customer journey and beyond. This shifts focus from short-term conversion tactics to sustainable growth drivers. Force, friction, and mass become the key operational concepts. To accelerate flywheel momentum, organizations must simultaneously increase force, activities that drive customer acquisition and expansion; reduce friction, barriers to purchase and adoption; expand mass, the customer base that powers continued growth. Customer energy powers growth rather than marketing and sales effort alone. In the flywheel model, existing customers become the primary growth engine through referrals, testimonials, community participation, and expansion purchases. This creates a self-reinforcing system where success with current customers directly fuels new customer acquisition. No artificial endpoint exists in the customer relationship. Unlike the funnel, which typically ends at purchase, the flywheel continues through implementation, adoption, expansion, and advocacy, recognizing that the initial sale is merely the beginning of the value relationship. 2. From acquisition obsession to customer success-focused funnel models naturally emphasize new customer acquisition, with most measurement and incentive systems focused on adding new prospects to the top and converting them through to purchase. This creates systematic underinvestment in customer success and expansion, the very elements that power flywheel momentum. Customer success, a radical departure from the acquisition focus that dominates most growth strategies. 3. From selling to buying facilitation. Perhaps the most profound shift in flywheel implementation is the transition from traditional selling motions to buying facilitation. Rather than focusing on advancing prospects through predetermined stages, this approach centers on making buying easier by removing friction from the customer's decision process. Practical applications include transparent pricing published openly rather than requiring sales engagement to access self-service evaluation tools that allow prospects to assess fit before speaking with sales, direct access to existing customers for candid references rather than carefully controlled testimonials, free trials or freemium offerings that demonstrate value before requiring purchase commitment, educational resources that help buyers make informed decisions even if they don't ultimately select your solution. Companies like Atlassian built multi-billion-dollar enterprises with minimal traditional sales functions by rigorously applying these principles, focusing entirely on creating buying experiences